Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for today's preview as the Six Nations returns for week 3. And just the two matches this weekend, Scotland versus France, has officially been postponed with France just suffering too many COVID-19 cases for the match to actually go on, being basically it's too much of a health threat, basically. And Scotland were very adamant that they wanted the game to go ahead, but at the end of the day, the organisers have made the decision, and that game will be postponed and be played at a later date. So the two games we will see is Italy versus Ireland and England versus Wales, with the Italians hosting Ireland in the first game of the weekend, which is scheduled to kick off on Saturday, 4:15 in South Africa Standard Time. And it should be quite an interesting game. Both sides without a loss, sitting at the bottom of the log. Ireland with just the 2 points, Italy with nothing to show for their efforts so far. So an opportunity for both sides to try and get some points on the board. And I think probably a big opportunity for Ireland to try and capitalize on what is a very inexperienced Italian side, which is showing a lot of heart, but at the end of the day, defensively just not quite coping with what is being thrown against them this tournament. But before we look at the teams themselves, please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner there, smash a like on the video as well. We've gotten over to 1,000 subscribers, so now we're going to try and push for the next few milestones, so please do show your support. Now, in terms of the Italians, Franco Smith has named an unchanged side from his round 2 defeat against England, opting for continuity. He made a couple of changes on the bench, but is backing this starting 15, and he keeps talking about the fact that it is a process, and that this game, in his words, is another step forward on our path. And I think that he's getting it right, to be honest. He's getting it right. I genuinely think he is getting it right. Yes, the results are not particularly good, and they need to get better, and the performances are not quite up to scratch, but you can see he is trying to build something. He's not trying to be competitive right now. He's not just doing damage control, though. That's the main thing. He's not putting a side out there and thinking, how can we lose by the least amount of points? He is genuinely trying to build a side that maybe in a year or maybe in 2 years can actually start to compete, and it can actually stop being the whipping boys of the tournament and actually, try and push a few teams. And that comes with backing the likes of a Stephen Barney and a Paolo Gobizzi. It's just such young players. Montana Ione, somebody else I've been very impressed with. I thought that Lavotti has been very good for them over the years. Luca Bigi gets his 34th cap. He's captaining the side. So, the most experienced player in the starting lineup is Carlo Canna, who will be winning his 50th cap this weekend as well. Robbie Henshaw for Ireland, so two members joining the 50 club. But it is such an inexperienced side for Italy, and even on the bench, quite a few changes on the bench there. Not a lot of experience. I think the only person with over sort of 20 caps on the bench is Maximo Mbanda and Mattia Bellini. And apart from that, it's all sort of 4, 10, 12 caps. So there's no experience on the Italian side. And this is going to be a very important tournament for them to just try and take some steps in the right direction. And on the attack, they've actually looked very promising and very watchable, to be honest. I've quite enjoyed seeing how they've tried to dissect certain teams and try to go about their business. Their defense just isn't good enough. That's the reality. They cannot keep the other sides out. And until they rectify that, they are going to struggle. And I think that's the biggest thing in terms of the Italian side's identity that they need to try and fix, is try and build a robust defense, which makes it more difficult for other teams to score tries. Because then if you add that to an attack, they do look like a side that can score points, I mean, we go back to that England game, and I think it was a game where the score didn't necessarily reflect the result. There was that Anthony Watson instep try where Italy were on the front foot and looking quite promising to score. And had they scored, the entire game could have shifted. I think England still would have won quite comfortably, but it might not have been as bad a scoreline. So I'll be very interested to see how Italy go this weekend and whether they can just continue to try and show some more promise. In terms of Ireland, lots more changes there, and the big one there is the captain, Johnny Sexton, is back in the lineup. He's recovered from an injury. However, his halfback partner, Conor Murray, is still missing through a hamstring injury, which means that Jamison Gibson-Park will start alongside Jonathan Sexton. Quite a few changes there. We've got a whole new front row with the likes of Dave Kilcohen, Ronan Kelleher, and Tarek Furlong getting a start. Rob Harrington, Ken Healy, and Andrew Porter all on the bench. James Ryan returns from injury, so he'll partner Ian Henderson at lock. So there's a bit of a jersey change there, and Tash Byrne and Will Connors will make up the flanks next to CJ Stander. As I said, Robbie Henshaw, number 12 there, he will be winning his 50th cap this weekend. Jordan Lamar comes in for Keith Earls. Billy Burns drops to the bench. So quite a few changes and tweaking a few things. I think, a very nice game for Jonathan Sexton to come back in and get sort of 60 minutes under his belt and then go off. The biggest problem with Sexton is that we know he's such a good player, but he is so injury prone, and as a result, you've got to protect him. And I think it becomes a sort of a balancing act of giving him time to make sure he's playing his best rugby, but also ensuring that you're not trying to overplay him or give him any sort of opportunity to injure himself. You've got to have him available for the big games. And in terms of Ireland, I think they've been very frustrated with the way that the tournament's gone, because I think they've had two games where they could have won. I mean, a 21-16 loss to Wales where Billy Burns kicked the ball out in the full, and then a 13-15 loss to France where I just think it was a massive French defensive effort. So two games where I think on a different day, different roll of the dice, other bounce on the ball, Ireland could go on to win these games. And at the moment they're looking very poor, sitting on 2 points. But it could have been a different story. And I think it's an Irish side which still shows a lot of quality that's there. It's a very good side. And I think that this weekend will hopefully be the time where they can put everything in motion. They can get everything to click before they go and play against Scotland next week and finish off against England in the last week, which will be on the 20th of March. So, yeah, I think it's going to be it's sort of been a bit of a training exercise for Ireland. It's all about getting the win this weekend. I don't think they'll be too worried about performance and stuff like that. For them, it's points on the board. They've got to just try and get back to winning. Because at the end of the day, winning is a habit. It is a habit. When you start going on runs, and you start believing you can beat anyone, winning does become a habit. And at the moment, it's a habit that the Ireland doesn't have. And they need to go out and change that against Italy. It is the easiest game of the tournaments. And if they can take some momentum into the Scottish game next week, they can definitely be competitive, definitely beat Scotland if they play well. And then they can sort of set up a decent game in the last round against England. And I think we've got a really close tournament. And with France not playing this weekend, it also gets some teams to put a little bit of pressure on them. And suddenly, pressure does weird things. Sometimes people just can't cope with it. Some people relish the pressure. So those are kind of the sort of small, intricate battles that we're seeing on the side. But in terms of Italy versus Ireland, I'm going to have to go with an Ireland victory. I'm going to go with a 15-point margin. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the game. What are you hoping out of it? For the Italians, is it, could they really actually push for a victory here? Or is it about just trying to get closer to the opposition? And for Ireland, are they going to go sort of bonus point win? Do they really need to go out and completely outplay the Italians? Or is it a case for them of just getting the result, getting the job done? Let me know in the comments below. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you very soon.